What's up, fam? This is Scott Smith. Welcome back to the Time is Ripe podcast. I'm your host, and I'm here with a couple wonderful people. We are back in the podcast palace in Upper Darby with Mr. Jarrett Top Mop Moses.
Yo.
What's good, brother?
Yo, what's up, everybody?
It's good to have you back. We also have another guest here because we're going back in time to June 7th, 2022. We're in the summertime, and we're going to June. And why we have this particular person is because this entire episode really revolves around her. The story's all about her. And so I'm going to introduce her to you, but she's going to introduce herself. I should say that. But Eves, they named her Eves.
Hey,
they
what's
called her
up?
Eves. I don't even know.
They named her Eves.
They named her Eves.
You got it. You got it.
The
Yeah.
Instagram. It's welcome to the pod.
Thanks. It's so good to be here with you guys.
Can you
that
guys
just
just go ahead?
Is that just the Instagram handle, or is that like the actual artist title you wanted? They
Yeah,
named her
no. That's
Eves?
the Instagram handle. It's not the
Okay.
artist title, but
That's
it's
what I
because
thought.
all of these different groups of people in my life, like ripe people from when I was growing up, have all made my name Eves. Like
Okay.
they nickname me Eves. Like Josh calls me Eves, Josh Schaefer.
Yeah.
And then people from my church, City Life, and then people from my childhood. Like it's just, I don't know why, but it's followed me my whole life. So they named me.
They named you Eves.
Yeah. Didn't have a choice.
Your technical name is Eva,
My birth name is Eva, yes.
but everybody else just calls you Eves, and so it just
Eves,
stuck.
yeah, it's actually longer than my actual name, so
There you go, guys. Artist name, origin story. You won't find it anywhere else.
there we go.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for being here. You are an artist.
Yes.
What else do you want to say about yourself, just from an introduction standpoint? Because this is your first time on the pod. People don't know who you are.
Yeah, just as an introduction, I'm a singer-songwriter, probably mostly in the pop realm of music, but I feel like the way that I create art is to just bridge the gap between non-believer and believer and create a neutral space for people to feel encouraged and interact with music and to feel like they can be in the same space and have conversation. So
That's what's up. And Jared doesn't need any introductions. You already know who this man is.
You've had like 7 introductions for me at this
he's
point.
fabulous. He's
Mr.
fabulous.
Top Mop Moses.
So many episodes just walking in.
Yes, Jared's always here. It's always a joy whenever he can have a microphone. though.
Whether or not you hear me, I am here whenever these are recorded.
That is a fact. Today's going to be a really special episode. I think this will be a unique episode. It's going to be different than a lot of our other ones because all these episodes go back in time to talk about a date specifically. And we're going to do that, but I think probably half of this episode is actually going to focus on what happened after the event, which I think is, kind of a unique thing. We always talk about the impact of an event, what happened, the conversations that transpired because the event happened. But we're going to spend a heck of a lot of time on your process after the event because it, in a lot of ways, impacted you,
Yeah,
which we'll
definitely.
get to, and then some things that have transpired because of that impact on you. And hey, okay, just stay here because there's some stuff coming. But let's go back. Let's first talk about just creatives in general. I've said this on other episodes about the gallery. About the concert event, that we did with Doc Hero, the gallery with Marguerite. Creatives is a platform of Ripe Creatives that we have launched to serve other artists in the city of Philadelphia. It's a Tuesday night event, exclusively. We throw it on a day of the week that there's not a lot of other things going on. And it's a way for us to serve other artists and creatives. Now, the flagship of that has been our open mics. That's how we're most known in the city. We've done concerts, we've done galleries, but mainly we're known as an open mic platform. And this open mic was legit. It was June 7th. It was technically supposed to be a creatives pier, which that means it was going to be outside at Venice Island.
Yep.
And, classic Tuesday night in the summer in Philadelphia, there was rain.
It's only Tuesdays, too. Like the rest of the week is perfectly clear whenever we have to cancel and go inside.
Yes.
It's just Tuesday.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what about Tuesday just attracts the tears of the Lord, but it does,
I think it would be Monday for all of
The
us.
storms of heaven arrive on Tuesdays. But I think, and this is a credit to our team, we always have a backup plan, right? If we're going to be outside, there's a backup plan for us to not be outside in case of inclement, what is that word? Inclement weather?
Inclement. That
I
sounds
think
right.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I made it up, but that's good. So we did have inclement weather. It wasn't terrible, but it did rain. And we were really second guessing our decision because we usually have to make a call by, no later than noon the day of. And we made a decision. We're going to move it inside. And so Creatives Pier became Creatives Cafe at High Point Performance Venue on Tuesday, June 7th. I remember the day before the event, Emily, who you guys should know on this podcast because Emily was a part of the gallery episode. Emily's also on staff with Ripe Creative. She called me the day before the event and said, hey, Eva's wanting to drop her name in the bucket. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah. I had already been feeling that for a couple weeks. I had been to a couple creatives events before, but I was just feeling a nudge to share. And I was I knew I was going to be releasing some music that upcoming Friday after the event. So
Made sense.
made sense. Yeah. To
Yeah.
try it out.
And one of the weird nuanced things of the way that we do creatives open mics is that we do it lottery style, where we have people drop their names in baskets based upon genre because we're intentionally cross genre, and we pull names out of each basket and then we build the lineup the night of the event. A lot of people get mad at us about this because they want to have a guaranteed slot to perform. But what we found is
Too bad.
it's actually what makes us different because every event has a totally different lineup than any other one we've ever had. And that is rare in the city of Philadelphia because a lot of events you go to an open mic and that same 15, 20 artists performs at almost every single one because they just keep going back. And it's kind of their hub, their family. But for our audience, we want to create something unique. And so it wasn't even like a guaranteed slot that you were going to perform that night. But you dropped your name in the bucket and the singer-songwriter and you happened to get pulled. And it was pretty stinking dope. I just want to go through the night of the event because yes, it was, a move from outside to inside, which always comes with challenges. But our team handled it super well. Jarrett was like, all right, let's go. And we made our way over to High Point, set up the smoke and the lights and, did our normal level production as if it had been a plan all along. DJ Angie came through to DJ. We had the live band that night. Do you remember who was on the live band by any chance that night?
Oh gosh. Josh Schaefer was definitely on.
Shape Daddy.
Jason.
Was that a night that Jason Weatherby?
Weatherby was on.
Oh, Josh played keys that night.
Yeah, he was on drums. Jason was on drums.
Yeah, Jason was on drums.
Esty was on.
Esty's always on electric.
Who was on bass?
Mike probably. I think it was supposed to be
It was
BJ
Mike.
and then Mike. That was Mike's
It
first event.
was Mike because oh my gosh, BJ.
Yeah.
BJ had to leave last minute because of stuff going on with his girlfriend's family that he had to go
Yes.
support her.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he showed up like in person.
I
Like
think
he
they
didn't
had-
even
I
need
think
to. He
they might have
shows
had a
up,
death in the
apologizes. He's like,
family.
dude, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, bro, why are you even here? Please just go. You got to drive to
remember this
DC.
happening.
You
Get
gotta
out
go
of
to DC
here.
now, yeah. So we just sent him on his way, prayed for him, and then he left. And then we're like, all right, Mike, time to step up. And he was like, oh, geez. So he ran home and got his bass and came back and played. So it was a really tight team. I mean, even in the midst of the changes, Josh was supposed to be on drums, but because the keys player couldn't come as well, and then the bassist switches out, Josh just jumps on keys, Jason jumps on kit, and it ended up being like super, super dope.
It worked.
It always does. But here's a list of just the lineup of the night, just so people understand kind of how diverse of a lineup it is. Unwanted was our opening incognito feature, 16-year-old kid, hip hop artist.
Was that the first time he was on?
Yes.
Hey.
So good.
Yeah, that was his first time.
Wild. So good.
Yeah, then there was a girl named Rachel who is like a bona fide superstar dancer. I don't know if you guys know this, but Rachel is like ridiculous, like low-key kind of famous on TikTok as a dancer. But she did a spoken word poem. I was like, you got to come back and dance too. So hopefully that'll happen soon.
We haven't had a dancer in a while.
I know. Then Kim performed with her brother, Jacob. Kim was like the worship singer-songwriter.
Yeah, she led a worship song. It
And
was
Jacob
beautiful.
played keys behind her. Then Jake was on later on his own as well. Jake actually, since that event, that was his first time at Creatives, has now been a part of the Creatives band,
Right.
which is kind of crazy. And then We had Deborah do a spoken word. I believe there was Lear was on as a hip hop artist. Q Flow was on that event as well. He did a track with Abel. You know the drill.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Julian Hartwell was there on keys, just doing his like instrumentalist stuff.
Oh yeah,
Playing keys, which is like always like a crazy vibe.
he was at my very first creatives too, and
And
that
this-
was
yeah,
only the second one.
2019.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy. And then T Hawk came in, pound for pound. God, you hold it down. You know what I'm
So
saying?
good. Yeah.
She came up. She came all the way from North Jersey. She was one of the incognito features because she was just driving 2 hours to get there, and so we just decided to line her up as one of like the guaranteed slots.
I forgot
with her
about that
making the
night.
trip, but she killed it too.
Her energy is like through the roof. Like she
Yeah,
brings
people are
all of
going
it.
nuts.
She's like, I drove 2 hours. I'm ready to bring it.
Yeah, it was like
All of
I'm
it.
on assignment. Hallelujah. Yeah, it was good. And then there was singer songwriter named Eves popped up on the open mic list. And then there was a trio with a couple different poets and singer songwriters like all together. And then the closing feature was a guy by the name of Brian Thomas.
Yes.
What an
And
animal.
He's
So
a
good.
beat. He
He's a
drums on a drum pad while singing.
And
But he can also play a kit when he wants to.
Oh yeah, he's a great
and
full
he
kit player.
orchestrates all of the backup. Like everything is like he clicks it in. He has the computer in front of him, and he's doing a lot up there. He's a one man band.
One man band.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to bring him because with our incognito features, we want to be cross genre. We want there to be a high level of excellence. They need to be people who have been connected to what we've done before. Like even T Hawk, that was her first time performing, but she was an applicant for the Ripe Creatives grant in 2020. It's not like a rando. Like we had a relationship with her. We've heard her entire testimony and story. And so, when we're bringing people up as incognito features, they're connected to us. Brian, we met through Creatives Live open mics on Instagram during the pandemic. He would come through and drum. There's a story of him drumming, and he accidentally threw his stick while he was drumming, and it stuck in the ceiling tile in the middle of his performance.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so he's drumming with one hand while there's a stick stuck in the ceiling on the live stream. I was like, bro, what are you doing?
And
But
he's
so
full
talented.
steam ahead.
Oh yeah,
he
he
stop.
acted like he didn't
Yeah,
even, he had two sticks the rest of the way, but he only had one. But he's a great kid, and it was great to give something different. Because how often do you see somebody on stage with a drum pad and sticks with a vocal mic, like doing that? And that's part of what we want to do is give people something unique.
That lo-fi worship, so good.
Yeah, it was super, super good. Everybody was amazing, right? But there was a clear moment, and it's no shade on any other incognito feature, any other open mic person, but the way our events are designed to be cross-genre, it's almost like a roller coaster throughout the course of the night with like peaks and valleys, moments of contemplation and reflection, moments of hype and energy, and all of that. Everybody on the lineup just built right to the moment when you walked out on stage, where everybody was just like both high energy and settled and like ready to engage in whatever was next. And then you walk out on stage and it just felt like perfect. And you got out there and did your thing, and everybody there was like, who the heck is that? And the people who already knew you were like, it's about freaking time. Because you killed it. You killed it. I mean, after the event, we all talked about, man, this was Eva's show. Like this night will go down as that was the night Eva just took the stage and owned the night. And again, like it's all part of a whole. It's one piece of the puzzle of the night. But Eva, you killed it, fam. You really did.
Thank you.
So let's talk to you about that. Now that we have the framework of the event and what happened, how did you feel like while the other artists were performing, you're getting ready? Like what was going on in your headspace and then coming out and all that stuff?
Nervous. Oh, so nervous. Just because this space it calls on excellence. I mean, you guys never know. Like anybody could get up there and share, but just the room was, I think, particularly excellent compared to maybe past events that I had been to. I think it's a luck of the draw, literally, right? Like it depends on who you pick. But it just felt like the room was already calling on a certain level of excellence of the musicians, and just the band in general is like, the Creatives band is outstanding. And so I was feeling nervous, and I was feeling like, you know, for me as an artist, I had never seen my music in a room. I had never seen anybody interact with the songs. I had only been doing it to just share with other people, like through platforms, like through Spotify or Apple Music. But I was really doing it for me. Like I was just wanted to make more music. And then to actually see it in the space was something that I was really nervous about, because I was like, what if everybody just stares at me? Like, what if they don't get it? Like, I want people to feel, the moment when I wrote it. Like, and so I got to get up there. When I got up there, I just shared, like, I want, like, people to realize that they're a vessel. And I kind of shared an intimate experience that I had, which I really think set the tone. And I'm really transparent about it. But I was in counseling, and my counselor was like, you're trying to be a vase, and like, maybe you're not a vase. Like, maybe you're a bowl that's made for apples. And like, if we try to put flowers in you, like, you don't make sense anymore. And so I wrote this song at that place, and I feel like I could not have orchestrated this moment. Nobody there was capable of orchestrating this moment, because it was all Holy Spirit, truly, 100%. Because they had never heard the song before. It was dropping on Friday. I had never performed it live, and they were with me. And I feel like, I mean, I literally, I was so shocked. And at the same time, it did a lot. I don't know. It confirmed a lot for me and pushed me forward into a lot of what I'm doing now. So
It was so good.
it was so crazy. That's how I feel. I was like, it was so crazy.
It was so good that she's up there performing. And by the way, it wasn't just good from what you did. The band picked up.
Oh yeah, they
Like,
were
Ant
in.
was playing the track, doing what Ant does, like, to the highest degree of excellence. Jarrett's up there mixing things, throwing some delay and reverb on your vocals, I'm sure.
Yes,
And
always.
the movers are moving around like crazy, you know, just lighting. The whole aesthetic looked like this was a showcase that we had been planning and rehearsing for.
Yeah.
But it's just an open mic slot.
You thought I was coming up with the guitar.
Yeah.
You actually said it into the mic. You were like, I think she's gonna play guitar or something. And I got up there and I was like, I got a track. I got a track, and it's like kind of a pop song. And probably nobody is ready for this, because even when I wrote it, I wasn't ready for what the producer, his name is Adam. He's Adam David Recording. I wasn't ready for what he did with it. So this is like, I mean, it's literally kickstarted me into a genre. But the band, this is what's crazy about creatives. This band, they don't hear anything before except maybe the features. And sometimes not even that.
Yeah, not usually. They don't want to spend time doing it, and they're good enough to just pick it up by ear.
Yeah, and it was just, they locked in. It was immediate. Like, everything was ready. The sound, it was electric.
It really was. Yeah, and it was so good that I decided, whenever your song was done and you were like, that's it. I was
When I
like,
tried to leave.
I was like, no. I literally just left her up there. She was like, okay. And I was like, just keep going. And then
Oh,
she
yeah.
just-
I thought you were in the back, like, having a meeting with Dar or something. I was just like, do we keep going? Like, do I just need to turn Ant up? Like, are we transitioning? Is the band going to play for
No,
a minute?
I was fully aware of what was happening. I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm leaving you up there.
In
They're
my
the
mind, I was like,
worst.
thank God I'm a worship leader, and I've had to have this moment before, like, where the pastor's just like, keep going, and you're like, keep going with what? Like, the song's over. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling like,
You
but
made it back, and then you started doing some other stuff.
I started doing some other stuff, and I think that's where I was like, wow, they are really with me. Like, because I got to, like, it took this song, right, where I get to encourage people to be themselves, and then I had to be myself to the fullest as an artist, and still encourage the room and include them in what I was doing. And they were still with me. Like, they were, and it kind of, I came off stage and I was just like, cause we had that moment. I mean, it was probably like an extra, like, what, 4 or 5 minutes, like, I mean, on stage.
It might have been that much.
Yeah.
About that.
Cause I think I tried to leave maybe 2 or 3 times, and Scott was like,
Nah.
no.
Nah,
Do the
just-
He was
bridge
like,
again.
it's quite not, it's
just
not quite
keep
done.
going. Just
And
keep
that's what's
going.
crazy is the track was done.
And the
Like,
band kept
and
playing.
the band just kept playing, like, they kept
as
going
if it
with
was
it.
still the track.
Yeah.
They just picked it up by ear and continued to play. Was any of the stuff that you were doing in that second half, where, you know, I forced it to happen. Was any of that just like free flowing, or was that stuff you had written?
No, it was all free flowing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was all free flowing. Because I had never had the song played live in a room, I only knew it to the like last beat of the track. The only thing that I planned was I wanted this moment where I could sing something with them that they could interact with. And it was in having them start that, and then I think that they were with me. Like, it was a call and response. It was an interaction.
It was so
that we could
good.
have.
Yeah, I think I thought it was freestyle. I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is just
it was all
completely
freestyle.
like prophetic.
Yep.
In the space, hearing from the Lord, singing stuff over people.
Yeah.
It was so raw.
There was a whole keep with it moment. Do you remember how you came up on stage? You're like, everybody's saying keep singing, because then you kept. Scott was like, she's gonna come off stage, but I'm gonna keep with it. You know what I mean? Let's all keep singing it, and the band kept going. It was good.
You got to
It was so
sing the
cool.
melody so people understand.
Yeah, it was like it was call and response. So it was like, keep with it, keep with it, keep with it, keep with it. I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you. And it was just a lot of that. And you could see people were crying. Like, it was the spirit was moving. I mean, again, I could not have orchestrated the moment if I tried. It was yeah, it's great that you kept me up there, because I would have never stayed up there. That's also like, right, that's leadership. That's the Holy Spirit being like, no, you need to stay up there and like lead. But that also speaks to the trust that we have between us two, which is, I think, what organically kickstarted a lot of what's happening now.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were just pulling from another song up there.
No, it was
No.
all- I was
that.
pretty confident. I was like, this is all right now. This is being created in the space, which is always like the best parts about creatives is, I mean, there was a time where we had an open mic performer, and then we grabbed another guy who was like a crazy vocalist, and he started singing the hook over somebody else's song, and like creating moments that wouldn't have happened,
Yeah.
that were outside of our natural plan, is always like the sweetest thing. So I just was like, this is happening.
Yeah.
This is going to happen right now.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It was totally not planned.
It was so good. So yeah, I mean the night overall was crazy. I mean, you do your thing, then that little trio comes up, Brian comes up and does his thing, and you know, it was such a light around you that night, and people that were really touched by your song, whether you heard the stories or not. I mean, there was even some like pretty specific stories that I'm just not super comfortable sharing with on pod, but people who are really touched by your song that are just like, wow, God is moving in such a unique way through this entire event. But there was clearly something around what you did that was so specific for people. Like, to me, that's where the gospel presentation, or getting to have a conversation with somebody about faith at a creative space, is so easy, right? Because God's already been revealing himself through the artists themselves. So then to be able to have a conversation with somebody about faith, or about, yes, this is connected to this whole Jesus character that you've been resisting or pushing away, it's just potent. It's like, I mean, I've always said this, right? Art has power to cut through. You can sing things you cannot say, right? Shout out to Elvis, as Elvis's manager or whatever. But then also the gospel is the power of God unto salvation. And I've always felt like, man, if the gospel is the power of God unto salvation, and art has power, and you combine those things together, you can get through to people who would never walk into a church on Sunday morning, never be willing to come to your Bible study, but you can still communicate the kingdom and the value of the kingdom and what Jesus has done through the arts right where they are. And that happened that night, like in really potent ways, in really specific ways for specific people. It was just obvious that God was moving, and it was a blessing to watch it happen.
Yeah. There were two moments for me that I really kind of, for me as an artist, one is, I guess this is three. One, Creatives Philly is the most supportive room like that I've ever been in. From just the attendance among like the community itself that's like volunteer based, but then also just the mood that's set. I mean, anybody who gets up there, like, is completely supported by what's happening, really wants the best for whatever artist is up there. And that sets the tone. But then when I came off stage, I was like super impacted in the sense that, okay, well, now we have to do something with this, right? I can't just, you can't forget a moment like that. Once it happens, it's out there and it's happening. And I was starting to feel the stir of like, this is, okay, I need to maybe start to take this music thing a little bit more seriously on getting it in a room with people and allowing people to interact with the sounds that like God has put in me, and God is touching these songs and to steward them well. So I was feeling that when I first came off stage, and people were super encouraging and were like lifting me up. But then I had this moment with a young woman that came up to me, and she was in tears at the end. This is at the very end of the set after Brian Thomas came up to me and was like, hearing you make sound and make your music and share your song inspires me to share my music and make sound for Jesus and to share it with others. And I really wanted to tell you that. I didn't even get her name. I mean, it was like in and out, and she kept going. But to me, that was the confirmation. That was the moment where I was like, okay, like if all of heaven cheers for one, like that's the one for me.
Yep.
In that moment, art should make others want to make art. It should multiply.
Yes.
And in that moment, that was Christ being like, you can disciple people through this. Like there's discipleship happening. Because now that girl, in my prayer still for her, is that she's sharing whatever is happening in her music world. So
Yep. So good. I mean, yeah, as somebody who's had that experience, it is that is like the biggest encouragement, more than the applause, the cheers, the accolades, the views, the booking, the opportunities, any of that stuff. Like seeing somebody come up to you with a poem that they wrote after you performed and be like, I don't know what to do with this. I just like started writing. And you're like, oh yeah, this is divine. Like this is what I get to unleash and open up and for somebody else, because that was what was done for me. I did not start writing spoken word until I saw it, and I was like, I think I'm supposed to do that, but I've never written anything in my life. And then a few months later, some stuff happened. I started writing, but I've that is such an encouragement, like whenever what you do and what you carry creates the opportunity for somebody else to start.
yeah,
That's life.
yeah.
And that is like the biggest thing.
I think we're missing it. I think that when we make art, if it's not causing people to want to multiply, like and create, then we're missing it as believers who make art, right? Or even just in artists in general. Like it should inspire others to want to like dig in,
Oh, that's so good. It's such like what you just said. Maybe to some people's like, yeah, of course. And other people's like, is that true? Is that how I live my artistry life? If you're an artist listening to this, is part of your goal and expectation that you doing it is equipping and empowering other people to do it? I don't know if that's like a normal thing, but that is a normal thing in Ripe. That's like one of the things that I think makes us unique, is that we've never been stingy with our space, with our opportunities, with
That's right.
our people. It has never been about 4 more bar the door. It's like literally been, man, these people are coming into our community, and now God's like raising them up from within. And I had a crazy weird moment the other day where I was realizing like Ripe Creatives, right? We have this name because of the Ripe community and Creatives Philly being this platform. That's why we called the nonprofit. But what I started to realize is that the community of Ripe is becoming creative artists. Like there's something that's happening where people who identify with Ripe are getting this unleashing happening in them, where they're becoming artists and creatives. And then there's also this reality where artists and creatives that come to our platform, perform on our platform, are somehow getting grafted into the community of Ripe. Right. And it was just like this, this is interesting, because from a branding perspective, it wasn't intentional. We stumbled into this name. But you're realizing, this actually has some significance, because this is what's actually happening. It's becoming a thing where Ripe is obviously throwing this platform, but the platform is starting to become kind of a feeder back into the community. And you're like, oh yeah, like this is a synergy, so to speak, between these two entities that make up ultimately Ripe Creatives as a ministry nonprofit. So yeah, I'm like, this is such a good testimony of that actually happening.
Yes.
In light of what we're going to talk about. So the night itself, June 7th, 2022, fire.
Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, you said coming off stage, you started to feel convicted about something.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And you called me, I think, 2 days later, 3 days later, something like that.
I'm not a very patient person, so that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I was impressed that you waited that long.
Good. That's good. I'm working on it.
Yeah, we had a pretty stellar conversation on the phone. And yeah, you tell me what drove that call, and then we can talk together about the nature of that call.
Yeah, I mean, I had been hanging out in the Ripe community just as a friend, as somebody who I'm friends with Emily Phillips, who was on the podcast before for the gallery, and I was already just like immersed, I guess, in the culture. I already believed in what a lot of the artists were already doing and coming to events, and I was at Good Soil, and I was being affected and influenced. And then I had this moment at Creatives Philly that convicted me to be like, you can't get away with just making music in Adam's attic and releasing it and not stewarding it into a room. Like, you're ministering to people. I know you're a worship leader, but I need you to be an artist who affects people. Like, that you use what I'm putting in you and these songs that I'm putting in you to affect people and to steer them to me, like, and to encourage them and to show them that I'm love and life. And once I started to sit and I was like, all right, we're not going to get away with this anymore. Like, I had to do something about it. So I prayed about it and I sat in it and tried to picture what it would be like for me to be in a more official capacity in Ripe. But I knew that I only have so much influence in that, right? Like, I had to bring it to you. And I talked to Emily a little bit about it right before I actually probably did call you, because I'm an impulsive person sometimes. And I called her and I was just like, I think that I want this, but I don't know if I should wait to be asked or if I should pursue it. And she's like, yeah, I mean, Scott can't stop talking about Tuesdays, so I think that you just need to go for it. Like, you need to show that you want this, because that's how it's happened in the past. Like, people are around the community and they want to be a part of it. And so I called you, and with the expectation of just having conversation and being like, what does this look like? Am I like within the vision? Because I never want to be a part of a vision that I'm not supposed to be a part of, right? Because then that deters me from the path that I'm supposed to be walking. And that conversation was, we talked about it. You set the tone for like what it is to be an official part of Ripe Artists. And I don't know if you want to talk about that specifically, or if you've enlightened people to like what the Ripe Artists side of things is. But
yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing is it's not just my call.
Sure.
Right? Like, in our covenant, we actually have a covenant as a community where part of our honor value, because we have like 5, values: honor, excellence, purity, family, and growth. And in that honor one, we make decisions together. So I can't arbitrarily say, hey, so-and-so is now a Ripe Artist. All you other Ripe Artists that have been here for a minute, deal with it, or get to know them, build a relationship, because they're in. In the same way that Ripe Worship, Emily's not just arbitrarily going and adding people into Ripe Worship without the entire worship team saying, like, yeah, we want to invite this person in. It's like a checks and balances. It just makes things super healthy. And so with, you bringing it up, and I ended up going and taking it back to the crew, and one of the guys in the Ripe Artist end was just like, does she know what she's asking for? Because to be an artist and pursue your music and release stuff and have some level of accountability, like, you got to really want it. Like, is she just, have a couple songs and want to get onto some gigs sometimes, or is she really pursuing this? You guys ended up meeting one-on-one and talking, or two-on-one and talking, And he just started laughing because he was like, oh my gosh, like you're so ready for this.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like just something on the back burner that you're, wishy-washy about at all. This is something you are going to pursue with or without Ripe.
Yeah. But that didn't really happen until creatives.
Yeah.
That like moment where it was like, you will pursue this whether you are a part of Ripe Artists or not, that didn't happen until, and I mean, I can go into the detail of what that looked like for me, that I guess month and a half, 2 months after.
Yeah.
But that moment, it was when after I had the conversation with you and I knew that you kind of had to start to discuss it with the group. And like, I was committed to be like, what happened at Creatives Philly has to be carried onward in legacy, whether they are helping you do that or if they're just encouraging you as like, like as friendship, like if you're a part of it or not, like you got to go for this and you have to be able to do this as like yourself, just do this for yourself. And so, I mean, a lot happened after that for me.
Yep.
That I was able to share with Aaron. It was kind of this moment.
Yeah, it was, yes, Aaron was the person.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, as soon as I said it, I was like,
it was going to be like, dang. No, it was not from a bad place at all. It was just like, I think it's important for people before they say, I want to be a Ripe artist, they understand what they're saying yes to from an expectation end of things and from a culture end of things. And what I said to everybody is, I said, look, does she have the gift, right? Does she have a calling? Does she have character? Like those are the three things that before we can invite, if the character's messy, I don't care how good you are and how much you're pursuing it. If the character stuff is off, not a chance are we inviting you in to be a Ripe artist. There's no way that makes any sense for anybody in our community, for us as a ministry. We can't put people on a stage that are being messy and not following Jesus with their whole heart, not handling conflict the right way, not, investing in kids the right way, not, like people who are kind of, peeling off and doing their own thing. If they're not there for the same motivation of why we're all there, it does not make sense to identify that person to be a part of a team. And we've had a bunch of discussions as Ripe artists about we don't even really have a goal of trying to go out there and recruit people to be artists for Ripe. Like, it's more, who is God raising up from within Ripe? Like who are the people that have already been a part of the community, serving in the community, showing up, being a part of the lifeblood of what Ripe is as a community first. And then God starts highlighting them, or God starts stirring something in them, and now they feel called to steward something in a bigger way. That makes sense. And that's exactly what happened with you. Because you said, we had trust when you were on stage. We have trust because we've known each other for 7-8 years.
yeah.
Like I met you in 2015, 2016 around worship stuff where you were coming and serving at the Philly Project in worship week after week after week after week.
Right.
And you carry, and you're an amazing worship leader, but deeper than that was your character.
Yeah.
Right? Like deeper than that has always been who you are as a person, the way that you pursue your own business and entrepreneurialism, the way that you carry yourself day in and day out. There's no excuses, right?
Yeah.
That stuff was so attractive to me. Forget the music. Who you are as a person was attractive. Then you start showing us the music you've been working on, and you're like, fam, she is tough. Like it's really, really, really good stuff. And it's versatile. It can be in certain spaces for like ministry conferences and youth and all that kind of stuff, but it can also hit the secular open mic stage or the bar or the club or whatever and be a part of some other type of setting where it can actually affect people right where they are. And yeah, to me, it was a no-brainer. It took us a process that we go through with everybody. But on, a family night a few months after the Creatives Cafe event in June, we extended the invitation to you, and you said yes.
I did say yes.
Which is so
and
exciting.
You were like, you want to think about it, pray about it, because you guys are so careful to make sure to give everybody the space to, process and take it home and take it to the Lord. And But I mean, I would have never pursued it in the first place if I wasn't already like me and God had already had that conversation. So I was ready to say yes, and you're like, okay, but seriously though, like just sit on it a little bit. Because what if you go home and you start freaking out? Like, and then that didn't happen. You know, I was
just
solid on it.
As much as you're impatient, Scott's impatient too. Because I remember he's like, we have the conversations like when that was up in the air. He's like, all right, guys, so what we're gonna do? We're gonna wait a couple months. Like we're gonna sit this out. Like really think it through. Like have her like come in, be part of the community for a little bit. And then literally 2 days later, he's texting every group chat, guys, can she join? I need yeses from everybody right now. And he's hitting everybody up. He calls me up. He's like, dude, what do you think? Is it a yes? I was like, what do you mean a yes for what? I had just like come off some long bender of a gig. And I was just like, what are you talking about? He's like, Eva, is she in? Like, can she be a Ripe artist? I was like, why are you asking me? I'm the sound guy. And he's like, nah, you're part of the Ripe fam. Is she in? And I was like, yes. Yes. Why would I say no, Scott? Yes. He's like, okay, cool. Hangs up like right there. I was like, what? Toss my phone across the room. And then he's like hitting all the group chats. Hey, we're going to ask her tonight. I was like, what happened to like a couple months?
He's lying. He's being exaggerated.
You're going to act like you're not on fire
exaggerating.
like that. No.
You said we were going to wait till like January.
You can't see his face right now, but he's smiling from ear to ear because he knows it's true.
I don't know. It might have been something like that. No, but I the process of getting everybody's yes is just a process. Like, would it be quicker and easier and smoother to not need to do that? Sure. But we would run into situations. We have people in and out of the lineup, in and out of the group, in and out of the collective, because it was one person's MO to get somebody to come instead of a yes from all sides. Because this is with Emily. Emily's on staff with Ripe Creatives. That didn't just like happen, right? That was me and Wifey as the founders of Ripe Creatives. Like, what do we think about this? Yes. My board, like my ministry accountability board of Ripe Creatives. Yes. ACT, vetting her through an application process. Yes. Then the team of Ripe leadership at the time, all yeses. Like, we wanted to make sure
Agreement.
that there was agreement across the board.
And that's the great thing, like, that makes Ripe so unique. Like, as much as Scott and Darlene are the heads, like, the face of Ripe, they don't take it as we're the overlords of it all. I haven't seen any decision in Ripe outside of, like, maybe a creatives event not made by a group of people. And that's why everyone calls Ripe, every time I describe Ripe to somebody, I call it a community. I don't call it just like this organized thing that we do together. No, it's a community because of how much it takes everyone. It takes the whole village to run.
It's a flat leadership model. I mean, that's the goal anyway. Sometimes that can be hard to get stuff done sometimes, you know, like we have trouble picking like big things that we're like, when are we going to do this huge thing again, or are we going to do this thing? I don't know. Okay, you know, and you sometimes maybe miss the bus on certain things. But I think the alternative in a world where, and everybody's young, right? And so they've been around domineering leadership, or they've listened to the Mars Hill podcast, and, you know, they like interpret everything that they go through as this is, you know, manipulation and power trip type stuff. Because there is a lot of that in people, and we are all broken, fallen people. And when we get leadership responsibility and authority, we can hoard that over. And so like a way to try to counter that is involving people in decision making and trying to do your best to get everybody's yes. You can't get everybody's yes, but in this instance, becoming a Ripe artist, every single other Ripe artist should have a say.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for Rashid or Abel or Rick or whoever to have an artist being invited into a collective that they've helped build that they don't affirm. Calling, gifting, character, right? And like fit. Like, do they fit? And I think you're a perfect fit, because I think one of the things that makes Ripe unique is the fact that we are eclectic and we are in different genres and we all do different styles of things and have different tones and sounds. And it works together beautifully whenever we are together on a gig where we all have the same audience. It like works. But then there's also the reality that each of you could go do your own thing and have your own audience that you're building as well. Right. And there's value in that, you know. But but yeah, it's you don't have too many stories like this where you have an open mic and then a few months later you have somebody joining the team officially, because
Right.
it wasn't just what happened at Creatives. Maybe that was the push, but you had already been writing music. You had already been releasing music.
Mm-hmm.
It was more God saying, yes, stop wasting time.
Yeah.
You were stewarding it, but it wasn't as clearly, oh, I'm supposed to be stewarding this.
Yeah. I think up until this moment, I don't think the music was ready yet either. I was still figuring out who I want, like what sound I was, and the timing. I don't think I would have been able to enter into something like being a part of the Ripe Artist community in an official way, because like there was nothing there to come alongside quite yet. You know what I mean? Like there was something still being cultivated in me as a person, and I still needed to be in the secret place making music and exploring like what is my brand as an artist and a believer and somebody who wants to influence other people. And so, I mean, even out of that night, like I feel like there were one awesome connection that happened, which is that I connected with Brian Thomas.
Yep.
Which he is, I mean, he's excellent in like he's character. Like the kid's got heart.
Yes.
He is just an overall, I can't say it any other way, he's a lovely person.
Yep.
And he also is excellent. His music, the production, the way he presents himself on stage, the way that he orchestrates a moment with
And
people.
tours.
And he's a one-man band. I mean, you look at what he does, you're like, this takes a ton of time at home, running the track back, making sure everything lines up. Like he can't mess up really, like in those moments, you know what I mean? There's a certain level. Like if I mess up a lyric, like nobody is going to be like super, if he misses a drum hit, the synth doesn't come in. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, he's really, really cultivating like a super unique sound. And so getting to meet him was really cool. I think that we immediately kind of saw that like there's overlap genre wise, for what, vision, and just it clicked in. And so I'm actually going to be opening for him for his album release show, which is, I mean, what an honor, first of all, but then just like getting to support him and knowing that this all came out of like this one night. Like there's so much that was started at Creatives Philly.
June 7th.
June 7th. Yeah. Like that's June 7th was the day that like so much started to happen. And so that's like a really, I think, going to be a long-term partnership between him and I, like supporting one another and calling each other out as artists. Like, hey, this person's great. Like book them for this job. Like you want them at this event, or you want them working with your students. Like there's just, there's a certain camaraderie that was like really, it was meant to be that we met that night.
Yeah.
Speaking to the level of excellence of how we do creatives, I'm doing sound for that show. Aunt G is DJing that show, and like SD and a bunch of other Ripe musicians, like people who are in the band that night, are his band for his concert as well.
it's June 7th all over again.
Yes, it's going to be amazing.
Really,
am I hosting?
Are you?
I don't know.
No,
Yo,
no,
Brian.
he's not.
Yo, Brian, if you're listening. I'm just kidding.
And he's got Unwanted coming out too.
Wow.
Oh, does he have
Yes.
Unwanted coming out too?
Yes.
He literally just took the whole lineup.
And On Ty is opening, which she's already, she's hanging out with
I
the
just
right
was on the phone
community
with her
too.
last night.
Yeah.
Crazy. Man, look at God. Yeah, and even the Jake, I mean, what you're saying is so accurate, because I mean, we do one of these almost every month, but we really wanted to pick this date because it felt significant, to talk about a creatives cafe. And I'm sure there will be other creatives cafes, open mic events that we'll need to like really press into. But that night, like obviously this story, but then the connections with Brian and even like Jacob, right? Like it's such a small detail, but Jacob came as an open mic performer and really was just an accompanist, whatever that is, for his sister Kim. Then he got selected as well to perform. And then, at a future open mic, he was in the band. And I had a conversation with him that night where he was like, I'm down to play anytime. He's like, it's not an ego thing. If you guys don't want to use me, you have another keys player, cool. But this was great. I loved it. And I would love to be back. And I was just like, wow, that's amazing, because all these types of things seem to happen at every event where it's building towards a more cohesive and more tight, ultimate production that we can do at creatives because of these connections and relationships that happen.
Props to Jacob real quick, because like he's a great player. Like he absolutely killed it when he played at that open mic. But like there were a couple times where the track was going and Ant's like messing around with the deck, and I'm hearing like this synth sound. I was like, wow, whoever made this track has this synth going for a really long time. And then I look down, Ant's playing nothing. That's all him on the keys. Like he picked it up, or he like made it with the track, and it like fit so perfectly with what whoever was doing. Like
Yeah. People who can play
can't.
by ear blow my mind.
Yeah.
People
fair.
can play anything blow my mind, because I can't play a thing. I can play my voice from time to time, but that's about it. But seriously, Eva, it's been such a joy to see you, just see this entire thing unfold. Like relationship over time builds trust. And so like whenever you called, it was just like, for me, this is a no-brainer. For Emily, obviously, it was a no-brainer. Ant is still like in the process of getting to know you better. Jarrett and you guys have worked on stuff even for Top Mop Productions and the Futon sessions and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, oh, this is an overflow of relationship. Her being grafted into be, our next right artist is a no-brainer. And, so yeah, it's just, God is such a unique God in the way that he knits things together and makes all this stuff possible. So I'm thankful you're here.
Me too.
And I'm excited, because I don't think that this will be the last time you'll be on Time is Right, because I believe that there will be events that you'll be on that we'll have to talk about down the line. So I can't wait to hear your voice back on this podcast again in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's such a joy to look back on it, and now that I'm in it and pursuing music in a more, just at a higher caliber, it's encouraging. It remembers why. Even just we're so easily forgetful of like even something that happened 2 months, 3 months ago that was maybe so impactful, or and so yeah, I'm excited for what's to come.
Amen. It's good. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. We appreciate you guys so much. Most of you that are here are probably partners and supporters of Ripe Creatives, because you get these episodes directly. So if that is you that already partners with us, we just want to say thank you so much for making Ripe Creatives possible. This podcast, our creatives events, even this open mic, these stories don't happen without your ongoing partnership and support. If you're somebody who just kind of stumbled upon this podcast some other way, we would love to invite you to literally consider becoming a partner of Ripe Creatives. All of your support helps us throw more events like the one that we talked about today, and for more stories like Eva to happen in the future. And so, you can do that very, very easily just by jumping on our website, ripecreatives.com, and click the give button. And all donations are tax deductible, all that kind of stuff. And side note, if you become a partner, you get into all of our creatives events for free. We just add you to the guest list. So, if you're in Philly and you're local and you partner with us, you can come to any of these events. You never need to get a ticket again.
Who knows? You might see the next ripe artist before they're the ripe artist.
I know. I mean,
That's
it's
so
crazy.
true.
This is what happened that
true.
time. Also, if you want to join our community line, that's a text service where we send out links like Eva's music. Now, we'll be sending out whenever she drops songs. We'll text it directly to you. Just text the words "Time is Ripe" to 215-273-3540. That's 215-273-3540. Text the words "Time is Ripe" so we know you heard about it through the podcast. And you will get all the links for all of our artists and links to shows whenever we're doing shows, all that kind of stuff. It's just our way to beat the algorithm because social media sucks. But hey, we love you. Thank you guys again for tuning in. And until next time, stay right.
I'm intentional. I'm exactly as you. I'm intentional. exactly as you planned.